Okay, guys, I think everyone is here. Let's get started without any further ado. Before we do so, a quick formal introduction on my end. My name is Mohammed Shoaib. I will be your cybersecurity trainer for this entire duration of the course. Okay. And again, I'm currently working as a senior penetration tester. Been working in this domain of cybersecurity for the last 7 years, I would say. Okay, and I've been training students from the last 5 years in this institute, DURGASOFT, and a few other institutes as well across India. And again, what the demo that we are taking up today is on this course called Certified Ethical Hacking version 13 from this organization called EC Council. Okay. I'm certified from the same organization as well as an instructor trained for these courses and certifications. To know more about this organization, you can visit the official website ecouncil.org. This here is the official website for it. And the certification program that we are learning right now is Certified Ethical Hacker, currently running on version 13, as you would notice. Right? Every few years, this version gets updated, and the latest concepts in cybersecurity are added to this, and the older ones are redacted. And if you scroll down, you can also see the curriculum as well. This is the same exact course outline or the curriculum that we will be following as well. So once this course is done, you would be ready to write the certification exam also. Okay. And again, to understand what job roles you can apply for once this course is done, this here is a brief list of all the job roles. This course focuses on penetration testing. So again, the job roles would be the similar ones as well. Penetration tester, ethical hacker, cybersecurity or infosec security administrator, okay, network security engineer, etc., etc. Okay. So let's get started into the course and let me explain what the course is about and what it will be covering. Okay. So this is your first step, I would say, when you want to get into the domain of cybersecurity. So if you notice, that is the first certification as well listed out in the website EC Council. So if you're completely new to cybersecurity and if you have no clue where to begin, this is the go-to course for it. Okay. And this course explains everything about cybersecurity, about hacking, about ethical hacking, and procedures that are followed in real time by penetration testers and the tools used as well from scratch. Okay, everything is again basically explained from the very basics, okay, from scratch to the advanced level. Okay, so yeah, let's get started with the demo. We'll start the demo today with the definitions of what hacking and what ethical hacking are. No prerequisites required, Narendra, because all the prerequisites are included in the course itself, such as networking fundamentals, Linux commands, lab setup installation. We'll be covering all these topics ourselves first, okay, which will act as the prerequisites, and then you'll start ethical hacking course. Okay, so you don't need to learn anything from anywhere else before joining this course. All you would need is just a working machine, a laptop or a computer to perform the practicals on. This course is a very practical oriented course. Not again, this is not a theoretical course in any way. So you need a machine with at least 50 gigabytes of free storage, 50 to 100 gigabytes of free storage, and at least 8 gigs of RAM on your device to run all the practicals smoothly. So I would say that is the only requirement for this course and a keen interest to learn cybersecurity. That's all you need, nothing more than that. Okay. Is that clear, Narendra? Perfect. Moving on, let's start the course today or the demo today with the definition of what hacking is and what ethical hacking is and how they are different from one another. Because a lot of students have a misconception that these are one and the same and they can be used interchangeably, which is very, very wrong. So let me define these terminologies first. Okay. So when we talk about hacking, this is the procedure of trying to gain access to information systems. What I mean by that phrase, gaining access to information systems, is if I were a hacker and if I've hacked your computer or your mobile phone or your web server or whatever it be, it basically means I've complete remote control of your device. I can steal information from your device. I can destroy or modify information on your device. I can sell your information to other people. And all of this is done without your permission and without your knowledge. So, without even you having a clue about this, all of this happens in the backend. So again, hacking is a procedure of gaining access to information systems. Again, any information system for that matter, as small as a mobile phone to as big as a cloud environment or the databases or the web servers. And all of this is done without the consent and without knowledge of the organization owning those systems. And this is performed by hackers for their own benefit. So once they've gotten access to your devices, they can again steal your data, destroy your data, or sell your data to other people for financial benefit. And sometimes hackers are so mischievous, they can even do it just for fun. Okay, so that's what hacking is about. Now, if hacking is such a malicious activity, if it is such a dangerous activity, and again, something which is causing a threat for the organization's data, why do we have a course called ethical hacking? And how is this getting ethical in the first place? To define ethical hacking, this is the procedure of trying to find vulnerabilities. So this terminology called vulnerability is something that we'll keep constantly using throughout the course. To define it, it's a loophole, it's a flaw in the information system's security. So your job in ethical hacking is to find these loopholes or flaws in the information systems with the permission and with the knowledge of the organization. So you're not doing anything illegally here. You're working with the organization hand in hand, and you're finding the vulnerabilities and you're reporting it back. Okay, so that you can prevent any further cyber threats, because these are the same vulnerabilities that hackers use, or again, I would say exploit, to take advantage of it and get access to your devices. So our job in ethical hacking is to find these vulnerabilities which are leading to these cyber threats and reporting it back to the company so that they can patch it up. Once those vulnerabilities are patched up, there's no other harm, there's no other flaws to exploit, and you're preventing all sorts of cyber threats. Okay. Is that clear, guys, what hacking is and what ethical hacking is and how they are different from one another? Right. Others, any questions also? My three, any questions? Igor, any questions?
Yes, I have a question actually.
Sure.
So, yes, I was wondering if uh IAM is part of this course. Like after taking this course, I can be IAM engineer with the set point or Okta, something like that.
No, my God, this is not going to deal with identity access management. This is all about penetration testing, actually. As mentioned, for penetration testing or ethical hacking job roles, it would not be dealing with access management in any way. So we won't be working on those tools. We would be working on other tools, especially such as Metasploit Framework or Tenable Nestles or Wireshark or Burp Suite, all from the perspective of a penetration tester. So your IAM tools might not be a part of this course.
Okay,
That's
okay,
a completely different course altogether.
okay.
Right. Right, coming back to this. So now, depending on these two definitions of hacking and ethical hacking, we will be learning the different categories of hackers as well. So there are three broad categories, I would say. There's someone known as a white hat hacker, a gray hat hacker, and a black hat hacker. When you talk about the black hat hackers, these are the people who perform hacking for their own benefit or for fun without asking for consent, also commonly known as the cyber criminals. On the other end of the spectrum, we have someone known as a white hat hacker, someone who abides by the laws and policies of the company, and they work for securing the company's infrastructure. Okay, also commonly known as ethical hackers or penetration testers. And in between, there's a third mysterious category called gray hat hackers. People who don't ask for permission first, like a black hat hacker, but do report the vulnerabilities back once they find them, like a white hat hacker. So they're working both offensively and defensively at various times. Okay. But there's a minor catch here. They don't do this for free. They do it in return for a bounty. A bounty is like a financial reward they expect in return for reporting that vulnerability. So they're not following all the rules and regulations, but they're still working for the benefit of the company itself in return for a financial reward. And hence, they're also commonly known as bug bounty hunters, hunting for bugs in return for a bounty, and also known as gray hat hackers. Now, no matter what category of hackers you take here, black hat, gray hat, or white hat hackers. All of these are professionals who perform hacking or ethical hacking in a certain procedure. And that procedure is called as cyber kill chain. Some organizations also refer to this procedure as the hacking cycle. It's one and the same. So the procedure that hackers follow in order to perform a successful cyber attack is called as hacking cycle. Okay. And the same knowledge of this procedure also allows cybersecurity professionals, ethical hackers, to understand how these attacks are being performed, to detect these attacks at the earliest time possible and to prevent these attacks or threats at every level in the organization. The reason is, unless and until you know what attacks are possible and how they are being made possible, you would not know how to defend against those same attacks. Okay, so to understand ethical hacking, you need to replicate the same procedures just like a hacker. Okay, unless and until you can do that, you would not know how to prevent these threats in an organization. Okay, is that clear? Any questions regarding this slide here? Right. Okay, assuming no questions, let's talk about the steps involved in this procedure called cyber kill chain now. So your cyber kill chain consists of 5 important steps in it. First step is called as information gathering. Second step is called as scanning. Third step is gaining access. Fourth step is maintaining access. And the last step is reporting or clearing traces. Okay. So if you clearly observe, only the last step has 2 different terminologies here, reporting or clearing traces, because that's where all the difference is between hackers and ethical hackers. Okay. So now what we're going to learn is what each of these steps involves. Okay. So the first step here is called information gathering. Some organizations also refer to this as reconnaissance or footprinting. It's one and the same. To define the objective for this is where hackers or ethical hackers try to gain as much information or data as possible about the target organization. So this step involves the hackers or ethical hackers just researching or trying to obtain as much information or data about the organization. An important point to note is all of this information is obtained passively. What I mean by passively is from third-party organizations or from publicly available resources from various websites on the internet. Okay, so this data is not obtained by contacting the organization. You get it from other sources, okay, on the internet itself. But the main question that arises here is what kind of information are you trying to gather? And this here is the information as follows: IP addresses, network blocks, whose records, DNS records, domains and subdomains, operating system information, employee details, contact numbers, email addresses of the employees, and usernames and passwords as well, if any of those have gotten leaked in data breaches online. Now, believe it or not, all of this information is readily available on the internet. The only thing is you need to know what those websites are or what those resources are from where you can obtain this data. Okay. And don't worry, I know some pieces of information here might seem a bit gibberish to you, but don't worry. As we progress with our classes, I'm going to explain what each of these pieces of information are and why do we need it. Okay, and how we can utilize that. Okay. So once all this data has been obtained here, that data is again utilized in the next phase, which is called as scanning. So that's the upcoming phase. It is also commonly known as enumeration. And the objective here is to gather extra information on the target, but by making active and aggressive connections. So here you're not getting the data passively, you're trying to obtain it actively by making direct connections with the company. Okay. And to understand what data we are getting here, we can divide scanning in 3 parts. There's something called as network scanning, port scanning, and vulnerability scanning. So network scanning, you're trying to figure out in the organization's network what sort of devices exist. Okay. Do they have any routers, any switches, any firewalls? What kind of firewalls are they using? Do they have any intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems? Okay. What servers do they have? What category of servers do they have? How many client operating system devices are they using? So getting the internal network topology of the organization is network scanning. Once you know what devices exist in the organization, then you have something called port scanning, figuring out on those devices what ports are open, what services are running, or what applications are they using in their network. Once you know what applications or services are running, finally you perform vulnerability scanning to figure out if any of those services or if any of those vulnerabilities can be attacked on. Okay, so during this phase, we'll be working on 2 very important tools. One is called Nmap. It stands for Network Map. It's a tool capable of performing network and port scanning for us. Okay, it can scan any network and give you the entire topology of that network and tell you on each of those devices what ports are open, what services are running, etc., etc. Once you know that, then there's something called as Tenable Nessus, the other tool. This is a vulnerability scanner. This is not a free application. It's quite expensive, actually. This is the same one which we use in our organization as well. and it's around $7,500 or so. Okay, and you can see that is only for 1 year subscription. Again, every year the company needs to make a payment of such to use this tool. But don't worry, luckily there's a trial version. We can use that application trial to understand how to run this tool, okay, and how to use it in an organization as well. So I'm going to show you how to do so. Okay. Once you know all that, then we have the next phase, which is called as gaining access. So this is the phase where the real hacking occurs. Once you've found all the vulnerabilities, the next thing is nothing but attacking on those vulnerabilities. And that's what gaining access is. This is the core of the subject, covers a vast variety of topics, as you can see. Okay, so let me explain each of these briefly, one by one. Before that, any questions or doubts up to this point? Igor, Maitri, Narendra.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Narendra. Okay, perfect. Right. So moving on, let's talk about each of these modules now. When you talk about the gaining access module, guys, the first thing we learn here is system hacking. So in an organization, you have different types of devices: Windows operating system devices, Linux operating system devices. Most of the times, these devices can come under the attack through various malware threats or through various remote code executions also. And one, again, when your system is attacked, the first thing the hacker will do is he would steal the data and he can try to lock you out. Let's say if you're logged out of your own system, you need to know how to get access back to your device. Okay, so here in system hacking, we learn how do hackers try cracking the passwords for your device, or how do they bypass your passwords. Okay, in a similar manner, we can also learn how to bypass the passwords if we ourselves are logged out of the device. Okay, so again, whatever tools and whatever attacks we learn here can be used both by hackers and ethical hackers as well. Okay? And once we learn how to perform the attack, we'll also learn the remediation also, how to prevent those attacks. Okay, so the first attack we learn here is how do you crack or bypass the passwords of any Windows operating system, whether it be Windows 7, Windows 8.1, Windows 10, Windows 11, whatever it be. We'll learn how you can bypass passwords or crack them if they are easy to crack. Okay. Then comes malware attacks. Malwares are malicious softwares, and there's tons and tons of categories of malwares: viruses, worms, trojans, spyware, rootkit, whatnot. We'll practically learn what these malwares are. How do you create these malwares? How do you defend your system from these malwares? And how do you detect them if they are secretly, again, hidden and installed in your system? Then there's a bonus concept called malwares advanced. If you're familiar with Python programming, then you can use this module to write your own malwares. If not, you can completely ignore this module as well. It's just a bonus module, as mentioned. Okay. Then there's network penetration testing, where we learn how do you attack networks and what common attacks are possible in networks. Attacks like sniffing attack, man-in-the-middle attack, denial of service attack, hacking Wi-Fi routers, cracking the password for Wi-Fi routers. So using these attacks, hackers can capture your data in a local network, or they can shut down remote servers, okay, by overloading them with traffic. So all of these are called as sniffing, MITM, or denial of service. Then comes hacking wireless networks, where we learn how do hackers crack or bypass your Wi-Fi passwords. Okay. So how do they get to know what your Wi-Fi password is so that they can access your network without authorization? Then comes social engineering, where we learn how do hackers create fake login pages. So no matter what page it be, whether a banking website or again any social media page or your employee, again your organization's employee login page, hackers can create an exact replica of any website. So we learn how do hackers create those replicas and try to get access to your passwords from those. Okay. Then comes hacking web servers or web applications. So every organization has a face on the internet, which is their website, and they're hosted on web servers, okay, or web application servers. So we'll practically learn how to find vulnerabilities on the back end of that server or on the front end on the website. Vulnerabilities like SQL injection, cross-site scripting, broken authentication, file upload vulnerability. So these vulnerabilities allow attackers to get unauthorized access to the databases or execute scripts on the website or get access to others' accounts using their cookies, okay, or upload malicious files to a server and crack the server and get access to the server. All these are commonly known web application attacks. Okay. Then comes evading techniques, evading security devices like intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems, or firewalls. So if your organization has these devices, again, just having them is not enough. Having them configured right is what matters the most. If they're not configured right, hackers can easily bypass all these security measures. So we learn what those techniques are to bypass them. Okay. Then comes vulnerability assessment. How do you verify a vulnerability? So once you get a report from a tool like Nestle's, you can't just blindly trust the report. You have to verify the report and check if the vulnerabilities are truly existing or not. So we learn how to perform that assessment of every vulnerability. How do you verify and attack on those vulnerabilities and get remote access to devices? Okay. Then comes hacking mobile phones. So no matter what Android phone it be of any Android version, we learn how do you attack those Android phones and get remote connections to those Android phones as well. Okay. So again, that is one of these are some of the few, I would say, most important topics covered in the gaining access module. There's a lot more actually, but this is the core of the module, I would say. Okay. So the main objective here is to attack every single endpoint and learn how to perform pen testing on each of these devices or endpoints. We talk about system security, network security, wireless security, web server security, web application security, firewall security, mobile phone security. So every single device, as small as a mobile phone to as big as a firewall or a web application or a database, we learn how to perform security check on every single endpoint. That's the main objective of an ethical hacker or a penetration tester. Once that is done, then finally you have the last two modules, which are called as maintaining access and reporting or clearing traces. These are the simplest of all. In maintaining access, we learn how do you maintain persistent connections to the target. So let's say if I've hacked your phone and if I have to maintain connection with your phone, even if you restart it, I need to create a persistent connection. Okay. So persistent connections are basically which can stay active even if you restart or reboot the device. So we learn how do hackers create such persistent connections. Okay. And then finally, we learn reporting or clearing traces well. As an ethical hacker, you learn how to generate a report, a final report for the organization, elaborating the loopholes and procedure, how you found them so that they can replicate and verify those procedures. These are called as POCs, proof of concepts. Okay. So we learn how to create these proof of concepts and also provide the solutions to remove those vulnerabilities once verified. On the other hand, on the other hand, if you're a non-ethical hacker, a cyber criminal, you would never perform reporting. What you do is clearing traces, remove the evidence of your actions by deleting the log files, etc., etc. So we learn how to hackers hide their identity and become untraceable as well. So this is the entire five-step procedure or the five modules, I would say, which involve hacking or ethical hacking. And under these five steps itself, you have all these other modules listed out. The 19 to 20 modules as such, as you can see. Okay, so this is what, again, the course is all about, guys. We'll be learning all these modules practically, as mentioned. You have classes from Monday to Friday, every day for 1 hour each. And this time the slot is at 6:30 in the evenings. Okay, so, and the demos, this is the demo. I think we'll be taking the same demo 2 more days, tomorrow and day after as well. And after that, we'll have the sessions from Wednesday onwards. Okay. Don't worry, even if you've missed out the session today, the session is being recorded and this will be uploaded on YouTube. All the demos will be uploaded on YouTube and the regular classes will start from Wednesday onwards. Okay. So now, yeah, that's that. That's a brief intro on what the course is about, guys. And if you have any questions, you can let me know. If not, we can exit the demo here. Okay. And one more important point to note, as mentioned, the course is being recorded. So every session will be recorded and shared to you on Google Drive. You have access to all the recordings, all these presentation files, all the documentations, all the notes. So you don't need to prepare anything else. All the content is already prepared and will be shared to you once you register for the course. And you'll be getting the video recordings as well. The course is for a duration of 35 days, where we have classes from Monday to Friday, every day for 1 hour each. Okay. And 35 days, Narendra, as mentioned. All right. Any other questions or doubts, guys? Maitri.
Yes, I have a question about the ethical hacking. How's the job market? Like, how does it look? Because when I type on LinkedIn, I barely see job on ethical hacking. So
It's
I
more on
don't know
penetration
if.
tester, Igor. So
Oh,
I
okay,
think the
that's the name.
yeah, the much better name to search for is penetration tester or
Tester.
security
Okay.
administrator, okay, or network security engineer. These are all the job roles which involve the same operations. Okay, so rather than ethical hacker, the much more valid name to search there is penetration tester. And definitely there's a lot of jobs available in the market for such job roles. Okay, there's a shortage of cybersecurity professionals. You can see that there's a lot of articles popping up recently as well, because since there's an increase in these AI modules and stuff, AI language models, and every organization is shifting online. Since COVID itself, there's been an increase of the online transactions and online operations. And the more increase in these transactions, the more increase in these operations, the more increase in cyber threats as well. So definitely there's a shortage of cybersecurity professionals, and the job market is really good, I would say. It's in the boom.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, as mentioned, the keyword that you would have to search for there is penetration tester rather than ethical hacker. Any other questions or doubts, guys? Okay, perfect. So yeah, that concludes our demo for the session today, guys. Nothing further to discuss. As mentioned, the session is being recorded. If you have missed out any part of the session, you can search for it on YouTube as well in a few minutes. This will get uploaded and you can access it there. Only the demos, once you have registered, all the classes will be directly shared to you on your Google Drive. So you'll have access to all the recordings on your personal email. Okay. So yeah, that's that. Nothing further. That is what the demo is about. We can exit the session now. And as mentioned, from Wednesday, we'll have the first session on networking
Oh,
fundamentals. That's the
oh,
prerequisite for cybersecurity. Yeah, you got it.
yes, yes. One more question, because I'm not from the ethical hacking or cybersecurity. My background is from a DevOps engineer. So I'm just
Okay,
trying to learn a little bit of security
right.
so I can add on it. So I'm supposed that okay, in a company they have a DNS that one package will be leaving from from a network, like
Uh-huh.
using a DNS, so the IP address will be converted into a different IP address, like it's gonna hide your the organization IP address, right? This the role of the DNS, right? To
Right,
convert your IP address to a different IP address. How
right.
the ethical hacker is going to now try to detect the real IP address from the company to gain access.
Exactly. So that is why you're dividing pen testing into two parts. There's external penetration test and internal penetration test. When you talk about
Okay,
external penetration test, that's all about the public facing devices, basically the web applications which are on the front end. So for that, you would not have any requirement of the IP address at all, because you're just testing the web application there on the front end, all the input fields or the parameters which are being sent to the website. That's all you're doing the test there on the front end of the web page. There's no IP address involvement there at all. When you talk about the internal network, you already have access to the internal devices there. You don't need the public IP or the private IP resolution there at all. You're just testing the devices directly on their private IPs itself, and you're finding what ports are open and what services are running. And you do perform internal vulnerability assessment. So there, even then, you don't require the IP address change. Okay. So that's how you're
uh,
segregating the tests there: external pen test and internal pen test.
yes, so I understand that the company gonna give you the internal IP address, but for a ethical hacking, to gain access to the network without any knowledge of the private IP address, how does it work?
Yeah, we'll be learning that again. As mentioned, that is one of the prerequisites, if I have not already mentioned that earlier, just a second. In the upcoming
Okay,
sessions, as mentioned, since people might not have that information on what private IPs are or what public IPs
right.
are, we'll be covering all that from the very basics. This is what we'll be learning in the first session next day. Okay, on Wednesday actually. What are IP addresses? What is networking? Okay. So what are properties of an IPv4 address? What does it look like? What are the differences, or what is the range of private IPs? What's the first private IP? What's the last private IP? Okay, what's the entire sequence of IPs? What are the classes, class A, B, C, D, and E? What are public and private IPs? Okay. Again,
Uh,
how does communication happen between the two different networks, the public network and the private network? Okay. What are some important protocols in networking? Again, what are classes as well? what is a DNS server, what is a DHCP server, what is subnet mask. Okay. How do you
Yes,
assign
yes,
an IP?
yes, I understood. But my question was like, okay, you join a company or you or like how like you want to gain access to a network and you don't have any knowledge on the company did not give you the private IP address for you to test
Right,
to. So they just want you as if you are a black hacker,
right.
a black hacker to get access to their network.
Oh, that was okay.
Ye-
Again, there are two methods for that, Igor. Again, I won't be getting into the technicalities, but overview of it, there are two ways.
Okay.
One, you'll either be attacking public-facing devices, okay, whether it be their web
Yes.
servers or FTP servers. You don't need the private IP of that device. You would just need the public IP for it because they are publicly available. Now, let's say there's
Okay.
just a device in their internal network. Let's say just a client operating system desktop on their internal network, which you don't have the private IP for, then you would need to find another way of contacting the person who's using that device, which involves social engineering. So using a
Okay.
phishing attack, you would send a malware, okay, especially something like a Trojan, which once installed, which once executed by that person, then you get access to that device remotely. Okay. So there, that person is initiating a connection back to your device. So that will definitely involve you sending a malware on their email or on any of their contact points. Okay. They have to execute that application for them to get a connection from their private IP to your public IP in return. Without them executing that, you would not ever get a remote connection. So without requiring their IP at all, you just send them a point of contact. On their point of contact, the email address or the phone number or any other LinkedIn address or whatever it be. You send a link, an application, and wait for them to click on it. Unless and until that is done, any attacker from the outside network can never connect to the internal network because you would not know what their private IPs are at all in any case. So you need an
Right.
application to generate a reverse connection towards the outside network from their device to your device. So that's what where that's where we're learning the malware attacks. Okay, how do malwares
Okay.
initiate connections from their network back to us externally? Okay, and that is how any
Okay.
attack happens in real time as well.
Okay. I got it now. I got it. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions or doubts other than that? Again, the others, this might seem a bit technical, guys, don't worry. But as we progress with our session, you'll understand all of those topics as well. Any other questions, Igor, Narendra?
Is that a hard-on job? Bash?
Sorry, come again.
I was asking if it's a add-on batch. Do you already have some previous batch running at 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. and
There
you're
was a
just
batch
gonna
running that
add
has that has concluded right now, so we are starting a new batch again at that
a
same
new
time.
batch? Okay,
Yeah,
6:30.
6:30 p.m. IST. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, that's that. Nothing further. We can exit the session here, guys. We'll connect back on Wednesday again to resume the first session of the entire course. Bye bye. Good day. Thanks for joining the demo today.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Bye bye.